why you are talking about sales and selling more than ever before. Sales mindset. Selling is critically important, even more so than ever before, because we live in a different world, right? In the world we live in now, and some of you have heard me say this, but it's going to be new to others. The golden era of boutique fitness was 2014 to 2019. And in those days, you could just put your sandwich board up on the street. People would walk in, they'd order, and I'm using that word very specifically, they would order a 5-pack or a 10-pack, and your front desk person was an order taker, took the credit card, processed the payment, and that was great. But the functional reality is that wasn't selling, that was order taking. The same thing you do when you go to Sweetgreen, right? That wasn't selling. And that world doesn't exist anymore. For all the reasons that you guys know, there's just a tremendous amount of additional competition out there, and that requires our entire industry to learn how to sell, which again, I know I'm speaking to the choir because you guys are already here, but if you need to convince members of your team that selling is not part of the job function, that might help you explain to them why you are talking about sales and selling more than ever before, probably. And to someone made the point, asked the question, how important is it to have a front desk person when it comes to sales? Critically important. And someone asked, to what extent should instructors be involved in the sales process? Great question. When I say everyone on your team needs to be involved in the sales process, I do not mean that everyone on your team is picking up the phone and calling prospects, or everyone on your team is sending emails. What we mean is that the sales process is a nurturing process. The thing about sales, and one of you already mentioned it, we are all being sold to every day by everyone else. So we know what works for us, and we know how we react when we feel like we're being oversold to. And I'm certainly not suggesting that any of you should be overselling or selling aggressively. What we are suggesting is that if you, and this is a borrowed phrase that I love, if you're not asking for the transaction, your client or prospect is unlikely to achieve his or her transformation. In other words, there's no transformation without the transaction. And I'm sure we've all heard the phrase that it takes 6 points of contact before people make a decision. Well, that's what a nurture process is. And there are lots of people who've used dating as an analogy for sales, so I'm going to follow that analogy. Most people I've met who are married didn't say yes on the first date. There was a meeting process. There was a nurturing process, a getting to know you process before someone said, hey, let's stay over for the night. And then it stepped up to, let's go away for the weekend. And then it stepped up to, well, let's consider moving in together. Then it stepped up to, well, let's make it official. There are steps to the process. In sales, it's the same way. So when we say that everyone should be involved in the sales process, it means that all of you should be creating a sales process that is organic and authentic for your community, and then identify specific roles for that process for all the members of your team, from the front desk to the instructors to the managers. And each step in that process is like the steps in the dating analogy that I mentioned earlier. So on the first day, you can invite them to come back. If you have a new member offer, you can extend a new member offer, but you don't have to make the hard sell, but there needs to be a request for a transaction. And that the way in which the request is delivered, however, is where involves nuance, and it's where skill comes in, right? Everything is in positioning. How do you say something? Hey, Emily, today's class was great. And if you buy an annual pack today, you can save $200. Well, that's probably not the right offer for someone taking their first class, which is very different from, hey, Emily, so how was your first class? It was great. I'm so glad to hear that. We have a new member package that you can take advantage of right now, today only, and you could save, X $30 on a 1 month unlimited as you get to learn our community. Well, that seems like a more reasonable offer. You're not asking somebody to commit to an annual package after they took one class. You're stepping up proportionally. You're not going from here's your free trial to you want to purchase $1,000 annual package on their first time in the studio. That's what we mean by everyone. You have to ask for the transaction, but the manner in which you ask for it, the amount that you ask for, is where skill and nuance are involved.
Hey everybody, Jessica LaChance here. Do you want more business education for your fitness studio or wellness business? Subscribe to our YouTube channel or our email newsletters, and we'll see you here soon.